The real question is how much weight, how much of an excuse can I put on my beard that I grew a beard? How much weight can I attribute to my beard? Unfortunately, I can't really attribute any. What is up, guys? We're back. We're back for another episode of our fitness journey transformation podcast. Actually, I asked Siri this morning and we're on day 48. Does that sound right? Which is all basically halfway.
Yeah, we're done. What, May 20?
May 29. So yeah,
Yeah, seems about right.
it's crazy. Yeah, so I had a pretty good week. But the scale still is not cooperating. What was I, 207.6 for me?
Today, yeah,
You just posted our
207.
pictures here.
Let me connect my phone to that.
I'm 207.6, day 48. Yeah, so, and then I see your pictures there. You're gonna have to put
Yeah,
our
the
pictures
number.
up on the screen for in the post production.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not discouraged, but I am like emotional internally about like really wanting to, because now it's like I'm officially for sure behind the eight ball. Um,
That's you for today,
that's
right?
my today, yeah. So yeah, I'm like officially for sure way behind the eight ball. I should already be at like 202, way behind, and I I know that I was the first 3 or 4 weeks, I was basically not accomplishing much because I was eating at like maintenance, basically, thinking
Yeah.
that like I had that breakthrough like a week or two ago where I kind of finally realized, wow, like I really need to be at like a big deficit.
Mm-hmm.
And being at a big deficit's not that big of a deal. Like for whatever reason, I thought that being at 1,000 calorie deficit was like super unhealthy or like not sustainable or whatever.
Yeah.
And now that I've done the math on the air, actually, I've kind of like come to realize that you can be at 1,000 calorie deficit pretty easily, and it's not even that hard, and it feels pretty sustainable. So, and that's really what I need to be at now. Um, Probably for the rest of the 52 days if I want to get
Yeah.
to my goal. So, um, part of me is like upset and like mad at myself for getting like way behind the eight ball on the challenge,
Yeah.
but part of me is also just like, all right, I'm dialed in now. Now it's, you've procrastinated, which everybody kind of procrastinates, I think, a little bit in life. I'm one of those people. Now it's time to see what you're made of. I have to really bunker down
Mm-hmm.
and see what I can accomplish. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. For me, I had wasn't my best week. I think it was I dropped like 0.5 pounds, so I didn't crack
Point
one.
five.
Yeah, half a pound. I think it was mostly due to the weekend. I didn't go completely like off like the rails. Honestly, I didn't do bad. I just didn't do as well as I thought I did. I went to like Publix supermarket and I had like a sub. So I kind of just like calculated the calories that the sub says, or it says on the little when you go to buy, which is I think they calculate between 5 to 600 calories. So I kind of kept that in mind. But I did that on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I think that really affected like my weight loss
You
this
did
week.
that 3 days in a row?
Yeah, I did that 3 days in a row.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
okay. So I went out to dinner one day last week. Right when I was getting some really good momentum. I was down to like one day last week I was 205 and change. And then the next night I went out to like a dinner and I was like I told myself like just order a salad and get a steak, and I did wind up ordering those things, but we ordered and we shared and I wound up eating a bunch of other stuff and I felt super bloated the next morning and my stomach just felt like
yeah.
and that was kind of like that was the last time I ate something really that was kind of out of line.
Mm.
And I had like an internal dialogue with myself where I was like, look, this is no longer like I don't even care about the challenge and the weight loss. Like I'm disgusted with that feeling
Yeah.
that I felt that morning where I was just like, and I still have it. Like I was watching a piece of content from somebody and he was talking about his transformation and he was posting pictures of when, from before, and he called it, he's like, look, in this old picture, you can see my stomach is distended. And I was like, distended, that's a good word. Cause it means basically just like that. It pretty much describes that feeling when your like stomach is just like pushing outward and it feels super unnatural.
Yeah.
And it's just like fucking the worst feeling when once you become like aware of it, that feeling of just having your stomach like pushing out and just feeling huge is just a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
And I kind of just I think that was Thursday night. So that was Friday morning, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today's Monday morning. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The next 3 days, I was just like, I'm eating clean. I'm not eating huge amounts. I'm not going to let my hunger, outweigh what I know is. It's kind of the same approach I take with alcohol now. It's just like, yes, I know that like the feeling of having a few cups of alcohol will make you feel great for a teeny little bit of time. But I know in my mind it's super not worth it. Like I don't sleep, I feel horrible the next day, blah, 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 blah. So I'm trying to take the same approach that I take with alcohol with food, where it's just like, it's just not worth it. Do not fall into the trap of like indulging in food because you will regret it. You will regret it severely, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah, no, for me, I didn't think the subs would affect me so much. I mean, not so much. I mean, so far every week I've gotten at least like a pound, between 1 to 1.5 pounds of weight loss. So this week was half a pound, and I do think it relates to the 3 subs that I had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I try to, I went with the curry. With the mustard, and I didn't really add any other sauces. But I'm guessing maybe, I'm not sure. It was probably 300 or 400 calories more than that I originally thought. So I probably like messed up my weight this week. But besides that, overall, like this is my pictures for this week. My arms are looking a little bit bigger because my gut doesn't look as big. But I'm gonna start adding my like 2-day fast on the weekend. So next weekend I'm gonna do 2-day fast. I'm gonna probably start Saturday and until Monday. Break it on Monday when we weigh in. So I was down half a pound this week. My step count was about the same. I was between 12 to 14,000 steps. I'm gonna try to up that to consistently 15,000 steps, and no subs for me this week.
Yeah, those things it's funny because I definitely now believe in the calories in, calories out formula.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also believe that, I don't know, there's something about like eating like really junky food. There's somehow like a way where even if you only eat maintenance amount of calories, if you eat it like really, really bad, like food, I don't know, somehow it feels, at least maybe it's just bloat and mind games that it plays on your head, But like if you eat maintenance calories, but you eat it all from like just terrible sources, it feels like you're gaining weight. You know what I'm saying? Or it just feels like something's off.
I had ate 100 calories of yogurt. I felt fine, and then the next day I ate 100 calories of Cheetos. I just felt like crap.
And I think, and even this, even like the way you feel is one thing, but I still think it reflects on the scale, at least in like something about like maybe like water weight or something. I don't know. So
Yeah.
there's something about not only having the right amount of calories, but having the right amount of food sources too, from like an overall perspective. Also, like I know that if I just stop lifting,
Yeah.
I could just like I'd probably, if I just didn't lift for 3 weeks, I'd probably go down to 195. You know, but like I don't want to like do that to cheat the system, so to speak. So I don't want to, because I'm looking at you and I'm like, oh man, like it's easier for Dave because he's not lifting as, like, you obviously don't have as much muscle as me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I just stop lifting, I could like hack the system and I would just drop like 10 pounds of muscle like pretty fast, probably, I think. But I don't want to do that. It's just I just really need to fucking hit the deficit, man. I don't know. I just don't think there's anything else. I mean, I've been doing good the last few days. I've been walking a lot more. Been getting my half an hour of like incline hiking cardio at the gym, which is like heart rate 140. And then I've been trying to do 2 more 30-minute walks, which is easy. Just like basically 2 phone calls I do on the treadmill.
Now I was looking at like, because I look at myself, you know, when you kind of like look at yourself every day, you don't see much of a difference. But then I was looking at like my other picture, which was like from the day one, and I see like a big difference in my stomach. It's like pretty crazy. This is like today, and then this was from week 1. So with me, mainly it's just like that gut.
These last 2 pictures, these last 2 in the chat are
Yeah, that was like the day 1. So
yeah,
like,
you're from the side, your gut looks way bigger, right?
yeah, and then like from the front, it's just like I said. Whenever I gain weight, I don't gain much in my chest or my arms. It's all like stomach. So like right for me, it's like the hardest part to lose, like with everyone normally. But you can tell like a big difference in. Also, the lighting's a little bit different, but my stomach obviously is not hanging low in the front as much as it is from week 1. And I'm not like physically, I don't look like where I want to be. But when I compare myself from like the first day, and I am down like what 11, 12 pounds, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it takes a while. It takes a while for you to actually like get to the point where you're dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're dialed in, it still takes a while of like consistent no fuck ups, you know, to really make a lot of progress. It takes more than 100 days. Like 100 days, if in a perfect world, if you were at like 1,000 calorie deficit for 100 days straight, yeah, you'd get shredded. But that's such a big. That's like, we're not robots, you know. There's so many. That's why bodybuilding is the most like difficult like thing, and body composition transformation is so hard because it's every single minute that you're awake and even asleep too is a chance. All you can do is like fuck up.
Yeah.
Everything that you do perfectly just gets you there, and then every minute else is just like a chance for you to do something wrong, you know?
Yeah. No, it's that's why I have so much respect for these people that have trained for years. And you know, bodybuilding is, I mean, when you're competing for a competition, like you take your body to like the extremes, but also these people are so disciplined for so many years. They've been doing this. I have a friend that, I mean, he's not like professional, but he's been into like bodybuilding since he was like 15, and he's about, I would say he's about to be 40 now. And man, like you know, I've always been motivated by him, but I never realized like how disciplined he's had to be throughout his life, and he's had a lot of like things happen, like close family members pass away, lost jobs, and throughout everything he's gone through, he's always, no matter what, it's been like consistent in the gym. And I mean, he's told me in the past, he said, no matter what happens in life, like the gym, if it wasn't for the gym, I'd probably go crazy.
But it's not just about if he's in like really, really, really good shape. The gym is just like the gym is 5% of it.
Yeah.
You know, like I built the habit of going to the gym and lifting 10 years ago when I was like 30, 32. And I've never even been close to in really good shape. And now I'm starting to see why people hop on gear and do steroids and stuff, because I don't know, because I'll never take them unless maybe I do like TRT at some point, like with the doctor, but I'm definitely not going to do that now. Probably never, because I don't think I need it. But I see why, like, I think a lot of people are in the position that I'm in, where it's like, I have high ambitions and I really want to accomplish a lot and I really want to get to a point of being in really good shape.
Yeah.
And then they go on their journey and then it's like, fuck, man, I've been grinding. I've been trying to do everything right. And I've lost like 2 pounds.
Yeah.
And I'm not even that jacked. My lifts aren't going up. Like, and I think the average person at some point, like whether it's like right now or in another year or whatever, they're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put this much effort in and just look mediocre. Like if I'm going to care about this at this, how much I care, I'm going to take the sauce because that's what I want. You know, it's too hard to try and do it naturally.
The only thing I've ever really taken, which isn't bad at, it's just creatine. That's the only thing I've taken. But I had kind of like some side effects when I did that when I was younger. It just kind of like played with my heart kind of weird. Just like my heart would race and I wasn't able to sleep properly. And I had like that bad experience. So I'd never like touched anything like fat burners or like steroids for that reason. Bad. But yeah, like I understand it. And also, I mean, I don't fault people for doing it. It's just, I guess it depends like where you're at and like, what your final goals are. And if you accept those negative side effects.
I think that in order to, I was watching an interesting video before we started filming earlier this morning when I was doing my cardio. I think that in order to like really, really make the progress that you need, I think that you I don't want to say that you need to be perfect, but you really need to be kicking on all cylinders in the sense that you need to have, your diet dialed in. You need to have your training dialed in. You need to have your cardio dialed in, your hydration dialed in. Those are the technical science things that you have to dial in. But then you also, I think, you have to be happy with like your work, like the hours that you spend each day working.
Yeah.
I think you have to be working hard and also like getting fulfillment from your work. I think you have to have good relationships. I think you have to have some type of faith in a higher power, whatever your religion is. I think that in order to do all the things that it takes to get to the highest level, I think you have to have like the entire package dialed in correctly.
Yeah.
In order to have that, like, because the only way it works is if you're like 24/7, every single thing that you do is pushing you forward. Like you can't afford anything to detract you from, like, everything has to be about progress.
Yeah. No, yeah, mental stability is huge. I've experienced it in the past many times. I always usually sometimes like in the podcast I'll reference like my past relationship, which lasts like 5 years, and the worst time was like the last 2 years when it was just like fighting and eating, and
Yeah.
I would hit the gym. It was just that would just it would be for no point because I'm just eating and I wasn't sleeping. My schedule was all messed up. I wasn't like fulfilled mentally or physically with where I was in life. And it wasn't until like after that when I reached like probably like the peak physique that I've ever been at. A few months after that was because even though at that time it was we were going through COVID, I was I guess I could say I was in a good place because of I was looking at new beginnings and seeing what other opportunities there were for me in life besides like at that time I was thinking about like, all right, I have to start a family, I have to have kids, I have to have this. And then once I got out of that situation like mentally, which was huge for me because that relationship was just like a complete like mindfuck for me. I really like dialed into the gym. I focused on myself and I did a lot of like personal growth. So like mentally, like I was on the right tracks, and that allowed me to like continue on the right track. And yeah, like when you have a lot of stuff going on, and if you're like a really busy person, and if there's things that throw you off or throw your schedule off, whether it's like obviously the big one is like sleep, which I found during this like the last few weeks, which for me is huge. It's probably one of the biggest reasons why I've been consistently like losing weight, and now I've been like structuring my schedule a lot better than it has in the past. I'm having good results, and yeah, this week it's just still. I mean, I guess it's still good. It's like half a pound. I didn't like gain weight or anything, and I wasn't perfect.
Yeah. I think if I'm being fully honest with myself, then I have to admit that there's been a lot of stuff that I've been, you know, focused on during the first 50 days of the challenge that was suboptimal for a variety of reasons. Thinking about getting into really good shape for like the vanity aspect of it
Yeah,
is, I think, very wrong. Like, oh, like I'm gonna be more attractive, or like, I'm gonna, I won't say make people jealous, but like, for the sake of like, I'm gonna feel like I'm better than people around me who are
yeah,
like lazy and fat or whatever. I think that, and I didn't have like a ton of those thoughts, but I had, I guess, some. And I was also focusing on some more like materialistic, I guess, things like buying a new watch, and I was spending a decent amount of time about thinking about getting a new car,
yeah,
and all stuff that is completely unnecessary.
mm-hmm.
um and just like, kind of, the way I see it is just like hedonism.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the pursuit of like easy money, or like buying watches, buying fancy clothes, buying a car,
Yeah,
pursuing six pack abs for the wrong reasons. And I think that I was being shallow in some senses, and just like doing those kind of activities for the wrong reason, versus like kind of what I was talking about earlier. It's like, if you're about to decide what you're going to eat for dinner, and it's like, oh, I want six pack abs, like I got to eat something good,
yeah,
that doesn't really provide the best like framework for you to have a good dinner.
mm-hmm.
But if you're like, well, I want to feel fucking great when I wake up tomorrow.
Yeah,
I want to feel lean. I want to feel energized. I want to feel amazing about my body. I just want to feel great. Like I was saying, I don't want to feel like a fat, disgusting slob who's super bloated with a distended stomach.
yeah,
Like, that is the way. Not like, oh, I want to be glamorous dude with a six pack. I want to
yeah,
be, no, I want to wake up tomorrow. I want to wake up tomorrow and feel amazing. You know what I mean? And I want to do the right thing. I want to treat my body like a temple. I know it's cliche, whatever, to say that, but like, I want to do the right thing for my body, and I want to make myself feel good. I want to reward myself
Mhm.
by giving it my body the right food. That's like the correct that's like the enlightened, I guess I would say, the enlightened approach to take, and the
Yeah.
right way framework to kind of like think about why we should make the decisions that we make. Like, this is the disciplined approach, and this is what I truly want is this, and I'm going to give it to myself.
Yeah, I was like that the first couple of weeks when we first started, and where I was thinking of like the end goal, and I was thinking, all right, I'm gonna get my body ready for the summer. It's more like vanity.
Yeah, like, oh, I want attention from girls, blah
Yeah,
blah blah.
that's where I was like the first couple of weeks, and like eventually that always dies down. It's just like with any motivation, like it's always like discipline that comes through. So like after that though, the next, I would say from like week 3 to now, I started having that transition and like mindset where I would wake up and it wasn't like so much about like, all right, I need to like look good for this reason. It was it's because I started like actually feeling it. Like I started feeling lighter. I started feeling like more energetic. A combination was obviously like the diet change, but also my sleep schedule, and that was just helping me like overall feel a lot more energetic and better. So like now where I'm at now, it's since I've experienced that for the last couple of weeks, it's something that that's the reason why I want to continue it. Besides like being disciplined at this point, it's also like my main focus now is, and it's always been like one of the first things I think about when I first start the journey. But then in the beginning, it's like the quick motivation. All right, let me get ready for this situation, or somebody's wedding or something's coming up. I have to look right when I see all these other people I haven't seen in a while. But now where I'm at now, it's just like I'm doing it for the sole purpose of just feeling good and for myself and not anyone else. So that's like the main purpose that I'm doing it for. So it helps me just be, disciplined and continue, sticking on to this current schedule that I'm on.
Yeah, I think that having that framework where you're just like, I'm doing what's right. I'm following my protocols, and I'm following the path of the righteous path, whatever you want to call it. And
Yeah.
that's what's going to make me feel good about everything. That's really, that's really like, I feel like that's what you need in order to really be like, no, I'm not putting that piece of cake in my mouth. I'm
Yeah.
not going out to a restaurant tonight. I'm not having a sip of alcohol. Like, I there's so much power and momentum that I feel like that's really, for me, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of like taking this to a spiritual level almost, where
Hmm.
I'm just like, I'm letting the higher power or whatever, and I'm not even like, this is not religious really at all, but this is just like, I'm letting like the version of me that's kind of like looking down at myself from above and being like,
Yeah.
this is an easy decision. Do not put that in your mouth. Like, do not skip this workout. Do not drink that. Do not make this decision. Do not try and take this shortcut. Do the hard thing and do it over and over and over again.
So at this point right now, do you have like in mind like certain goals or like a certain deficit that you want to like try to hit for the next couple of weeks?
That's a great question, because it's I don't want to get to a point where I'm like not um I'm not I'm like in no man's land, you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm reaching for. Um so we have 50, we have, what, how many weeks is it?
Mm.
52 divided by 7. It's 7.5 weeks. It's almost still 2 months. Um
Hey, that's still a lot of time.
Still a lot of time. I guess I want to I guess I want to take it week by week. I
Hmm.
think I want to take it week by week. I think, and that's something that I learned from Tiger Woods, is he didn't used to have a goal for what he was going to try and shoot for the whole round.
Yeah.
Is that he would break it up into 3 holes at a time, and he would look at the 3 holes and be like, I want to shoot even par on these 3 holes because it would help him stay laser focused. So I want to make, so 207.6 was what I weighed in at this morning.
Yeah.
I want to be 2 pounds lighter next Monday. Okay. So I'm going to just do it week by week. I'm going to be 205.7 or less next Monday. And then I'm going to just take it from there. 2 pounds, which is attainable. I feel like my weight was heavy this morning anyway. Yeah. So if I have like a perfect week this week, I think 2 pounds is good. I think I want to set an aggressive goal for the weekend. I just want to see how close I can get to hitting it. So I'm not gonna go and like rechange. I mean, my goal still is 192 for the challenge, 20 pounds. But I don't even necessarily want to do the math on 2 pounds per week, 7 weeks, it's 14 pounds, whatever. It's probably actually still gets me there. But I don't know. I'm going to just try and lose 2 pounds this week by just setting an aggressive target and seeing if I can reach it.
Yeah, for me, I'm also, even though I've had good progress, I'm going to like really dial it in now. And I'm going to be pretty aggressive. What I did this week was, even though I'm only 10 pounds away, but I feel like this time compared to in the past when I was around 143, 142, and I had like a 6-pack, I feel like when I did it the first time, I did it really aggressive where I wasn't doing any type of like weightlifting, and I just got really skinny. So I think now it's
you had a 6-pack without lifting at all? Yeah.
But I was pretty scrawny, even though I had a 6-pack. But now I feel like I'm a little bit bigger. I have a little bit more muscle compared to I did a few years ago when I tried it. So I feel like at 144, I'm not sure how visible my 6-pack will be. So like I want to have the option like when I'm 3 weeks away from like the 100 days to see where I'm at. But I want to be around that weight, like 145, 146. And then if I feel like I need to like be even more aggressive, I'm gonna just really go hard the last like 3 weeks. But what I did this week was, because I'm starting to like outside of, let's say, like the fitness stuff. Now I'm talking about just like day-to-day activities with my life and everything we're working with, like social media. I've created like a schedule for myself where I want to be here like Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, probably like 10 to like 5 at least. And so I'm going to get like the walking pad. I'm going to bring it here. Because I'm going to try to like spend a lot of my time here, get a lot more work done. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like scheduled, what hours or what days I'm going to dedicate towards Instagram, what hours or days I'm going to dedicate towards YouTube when it comes to like editing and posting, but also learning. That's what I kind of did this whole weekend. But like, when I think about it, the first couple of weeks when I was doing, I was kind of like all over the place. And then now, since I have more of a sense of like my schedule and what it takes in order to like post daily and make sure I'm not wasting too much time watching videos on like just learning, but also but also like applying what I'm learning to the videos, because sometimes like I've been I won't say a victim, but like I've been like guilty of like consuming too much and not necessarily taking enough action.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot in the past.
Yeah, exactly. So like this week I feel like I created a schedule where I told myself, right, these days and these hours, like after we record, I need to start uploading a day or two after. And then if I'm gonna consume something, as far as like if I want to learn, I'm gonna apply it on these other days. And I've kind of like I created a schedule on Sunday to start applying starting today and going forward.
Yeah, because we're trying to do like, we have enough content. I think now we have enough like overall like stuff where I think you should be posting. You should be able to post like literally 5 things a day, mm-hmm. which is a lot, but that's a lot of action.
Yeah,
5 things a day. That's 5 times 7. That's 35 posts a week. That's enough to make like legitimate progress. 3 Instagram posts and 2 YouTube posts. Something like that. We're definitely not. There's no way you're gonna do that this week.
Yeah.
But we might get 20, we might get 25.
Mhm.
Like I want to keep track. Actually that's something I want to do. I want to have let's make a Google sheet and we'll keep track of every single post that we do the whole week. And I want to make that like something that we look at as like our reps. You know what I mean? Like I want to get, I don't want to post shitty stuff either. Like it's not going to be perfect, but I don't want it to be like lazy shit. And by the way, as soon as we finish filming, I want to go through, I want to do every Monday, I want to go through like just 10 minutes of reviewing all the posts for the week.
Okay.
And I'm just going to give you my 2 cents on every one.
Okay.
Because there's like little things. Like I think I sent you some DMs on my drive over here. Like little stuff, but just little feedback, But yeah, you're getting your schedule dialed in, right? Like you're getting really regimented now.
Yeah. So what I did this week was like whenever we record these podcasts, I want to like upload this like on Wednesdays. So I'll like usually on Mondays, what I'll do is whatever we record, whether it's like reels, I'll edit it because I have to do a slight color grading and then like small cuts here and there, and I send it to the editors on Mondays, and then they start working on it, and then that way on Tuesday morning or depending on how long it takes me on Monday, I start editing the YouTube stuff, and I can get it up by Wednesday, and then once I get that up, I can send that podcast to the other editors so they can start creating the clips for like the YouTube stuff. And after that, like anything like that I want to, something else that I want to learn on, whether, I mean, I was kind of doing it today before we started, looking at like the algorithms and if there should be a way out, in the beginning, I've watched so much videos. So a lot of people just say start and just like shoot and record. And then as time goes on, then you can kind of dial in and look into like a little bit more as far as like the analytics go and like maybe the type of videos you want to like produce, because sometimes like certain creators, they'll only create videos if there's people searching for certain keywords, and there's other people that just are completely different and they just want to record content that they're interested in, and their main thing isn't to like grow as fast, it's more like organic, so they kind of enjoy it a little bit more because they're recording videos for like things that they're interested in, and it keeps them going compared to some other people which are just like chasing numbers and views and maybe trying to sell courses. So they're creating videos for like the money aspect of it and not necessarily just like to enjoy it, the process. It's just in that way it can become a little bit stressful too. So I'm kind of just looking at like right now we're just kind of doing it on our journey and documenting like what we're going through in our lives, which is good. But I'm just been doing a lot of like market research on how to grow the channels, and because YouTube is like a complete different monster than Instagram. I've just seen like the big differences between the two. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and I've kind of created a schedule that I'm going to try to start following this week. I'm going to be spend a lot more hours in the studio, and for that same reason, like getting back to the fitness, I want to get the walking pattern here. So while I'm editing or just watching videos, I can still like stay dialed in on my fitness, and especially like it's month 2 and 3, I want to be more aggressive, and in order for me to be more aggressive, I have to increase my step count and make sure like my diet is completely like on point.
Yeah, I think I want to go. Well, I'm getting more technical with a lot of stuff and like getting more organized and structured. I'm eliminating probably half of the poker I was playing, maybe even 70% of the poker I was playing, and focusing on like the right things, like working hard, doing more walking, doing more just traditional work for building the firm, spending more time with you, focusing on our content, plan, making more pieces of content, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think, and just focusing on the right things that I know are specifically, designed to progress me in the direction that I want to progress, and not being lazy and being like, well, I worked all day yesterday, so I can go play poker today,
Yeah.
No, like coming in the week at the beginning of the week and saying, all right, this is how much time I can allocate towards poker. Everything else is going to be spent doing, my hardcore fitness, work, content, family, other things that are like, those are just the non-negotiables. And then whatever little bit of extra time I have, I can allocate it toward my fun stuff. But I think that I kind of didn't give enough of like when I said earlier I was like emotional. I think that now I'm kind of doubling down on where I was earlier in the podcast where I was just like said I was like a little bit upset and like
Yeah.
that I'm so behind, and now I'm really like upset at myself because I didn't take it seriously enough and I haven't made that much progress anywhere near what I wanted to.
Yeah.
Not like I'm scolding myself, but I'm motivating myself and I'm saying like, look, you know, if you want me, I'm speaking to myself, if you want to achieve like at age 43 after 3 back surgeries and like Percocet addiction and like being a fatty your whole life, if you want to get to like a top 10% physique, like it's not going to be like a casual thing. It's not going to just be like, oh yeah, like I go to the gym and I do push-ups and like now I'm fucking jacked. No, like this has to be an obsession. You know, it has to be perfection basically. It has to be the highest level of discipline, and you know, that just means that there's no time for like bullshit. There's no time for nonsense. There's no room for any of that. I have to cut. I have to get ruthless. I have to get really, really ruthless with who I talk to, what I spend my time on, all these things. And I just have to say no to everything that doesn't move me in the direction where I want to be.
Yeah, I think that's one of the positive things about us coming in here weekly, and we get to really see like certain failures, or just maybe we just didn't live up to where we wanted to be at, and we can kind of like analyze what's going on and just implement goals in order to correct those behaviors that are causing us to have these issues. So it's happened to me a lot, like since week one till now. There's a lot of things I've realized, and up to this point. And I think for you in the same sense, where even though, like, say for instance, once we're at the end of our 100 days here, everything we learned through the podcast and talking, with our conversations, or even like later when we look back on some of these videos and we kind of look where we were at, it's a lot of things we can like implement in the future, saying, all right, if I'm going to do it different this time, or if I'm going to continue this journey, I learned so much during this first 100 days that, in the past, if I didn't have the podcast, maybe if I were to restart the journey again in the future, I'd probably continue to make the same mistakes.
Make the same mistakes again.
Yeah, but since you're like speaking about it, and it's kind of, I guess you can say, somewhat of a little bit of a therapy, because you're analyzing a lot of stuff, and you realize like, all right, with your day-to-day activities, what is something that continues to keep happening with kind of your situation. It's maybe like your hobbies sometimes get a little bit too much in the way, maybe during this challenge that you anticipated.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like a therapy session. It's kind of nice that no one's really watching the sessions now, because it's easier. I mean, it's still going on the internet. Yeah. So you still have to have that feeling, but like I guess there's probably a huge difference between knowing that like two people are going to watch it versus like 1,000 or 1,000,000. But it does feel like a therapy session, which is good. I feel like when I open up to the cameras and you about like, man, like I failed. Like I would give myself a C or a D for the first half of the journey, Yeah. Which it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. But I do feel like I'm in a position where where I've learned a lot, and I could definitely I could make a good turnaround. Like I could have the halftime talk from the coach and get the pep talk, and I could come out and drop 60 in the second half and win the game. Like I am simultaneously mad at myself and disappointed, but at the same time, I think taking the right approach and saying, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with that energy and that emotion and all the education that you've taken from the first 50 days? What are you going to do with it? Well, I'm going to fucking do the fucking best I can,
I mean, that would make for a really cool like final clip at the end where you just recorded what you your emotions today, and then what is it that you did, and then it shows at the end like the big progress, and you took like the second part of it like really serious, and you made the changes based on how you felt and what you seen off the first like half 50 days that we did. So I mean, you still have time. And overall, I mean, you've dropped the weight, so it's not horrible. You just, you haven't been as dialed in as you expected, but there's still a lot of time, and to get maybe not exactly where you want to be, but closer to your goals. At the end of the day, it's whether we nail our final like weight after these 100 days. It's at the end of it, when you think about the big picture, it's we're going towards like the right direction overall. So.
But at the same time, that's true, but it's so easy to turn that line into a cop-out and excuse.
Yeah.
So I want to focus more on like the amping myself up and being like, you fucked up, like you fucked up. You've been way too lazy, and you've taken way too many shortcuts, and you've been like, oh, I could eat this, or I could, do this, or blah, blah, blah. And I want to like really, really, really do everything possible to achieve what my original goal was.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that getting emotional and telling myself that you fucked up is I think it's the right approach at this time, but beating yourself up maybe isn't always the best, but I think it sometimes can be the best.
I mean, me personally, I respond to like that type of
tough love.
Yeah, it's been like that since I played like high school football, and I remember when I was like playing JV football and or on the varsity team, our coaches were really tough. It was just like it's like the old school football mentality. It's maybe not how sports is today, but in the past it's.
Well, they say that people. Okay, so basically, like if you look at like people achieving their goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can look at it in two ways. You can say, well, there's the shiny object over there, and I'm going to stare at that thing, and I'm going to keep going for the shiny object until I get there, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Straight A's, a big promotion, a jacked body, weight loss, whatever it is. And then there's the other way to look at it, which is you can look in the rearview mirror, and you can say, look at that pothead, look at that fat fuck. Yeah. Look at that straight F student. I am scared as fuck to be that guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to run away from what I'm afraid of. And they say that running away from what you're, for most humans,
mm-hmm.
running away from something that you're like afraid of or scared of is on the whole considerably more effective than just running toward your goal. But the best is to have both. Yeah. So that was kind of another way to look at like my analogy of like when I'm considering what to eat, like thinking about the guy with the fucking bloated ass stomach that feels like shit, that's farting and burping
mm-hmm.
and just like waking up like lethargic and super like gut out. That's what I am going to choose to think about now because it's more powerful. Like the tough love, the disgusting afraid of being the bum is it just as a human nature thing, like we're programmed more to get away from fear than we are just go toward like feeling good, I think.
I mean, I kind of use that on a weekly. When I think about it, like weekly, I do something similar. Whenever I feel like unmotivated, like this week, for instance, I was feeling that a little bit just because I was kind of getting in that same habit of like I'm dropping weight and I feel better energy wise and just overall I'm feeling a lot better. But I didn't have maybe the same drive. I think it was like last Thursday or Friday. And I woke up and I was just, let me just, instead of walking the 3 hours, let me just walk 1 hour today. And I was like, no, I got to get out of this because, I want to lock in at least 100 days where I'm just on the same like mindset of 100%. So I pulled out my phone and I just looked at day one and that just motivated me. I said, oh, fuck, I don't want to look like that fucking fat ass again.
Yeah.
And I know once I get my six pack, I'm never going to go back to, or like, that's how I feel. Like I feel like once I finally achieve my six pack again and I'm able to sustain it And now with, just where I'm at in life in general, what's important to me now, I feel like it's, in order for me to lose that six pack, I'm gonna have to go through like some crazy type of accident where I just physically can't. But once I achieve that, I feel like this time around, with everything I've learned and everything I've spoken here on the podcast, that I, like you said, I don't ever want to return to like that physically, what I look like, but also more importantly for me is how I felt during those times. And me from day one was not sleeping correctly, just pretty lazy, unmotivated, and a little bit too comfortable. And I just don't want to feel like that again, because 5-6 years ago, before I got in the best shape of my life, I was like that. And then I started experiencing that again on day one, because I was somewhat similar physically, not as bad as I was 6 years ago, but I was like on the verge of getting there again. If I didn't start this challenge, or make a big change, I would have maybe, without even realizing, steadily continue going towards that.
No, but I'm gonna, as we wrap up, that's gonna be my thing, is I'm gonna beat myself up. I'm gonna beat myself up, and I'm gonna fucking be tough on myself, just like I'm tough on my boys, and I think that discipline and drawing a line and being tough is good and it's healthy. I'm gonna be tough on myself. I'm gonna beat myself up, and I'm gonna fucking achieve my weekly goal. Right now I have blinders on, okay? A 1 week goal. I have whatever 24 times 7 is. That's how many hours I have. 156 hours, I think. And I have 156 hours to lose 2 pounds. It's a mini challenge within the challenge, and nothing's gonna stop me. So I'm gonna fucking do it. So that's it.
Yeah. Now for me, closing thoughts are, I am just gonna stick to the schedule I created on Sunday. No subs this week. And the other thing I was gonna do was, I have like these, part of my diet, I've been eating like beans and lentils, but it's like those quick microwave ones. So I'm gonna bring some here just in case if I get hungry. I don't have like the urge just to go to like Publix and
you gotta have a system for all that shit. You gotta have a system for like good options. So, all right, tough love. Let's fucking go. 1 week challenge for me. See you guys next week. I'm gonna fucking hit it.
See ya.